All right, welcome to the Sports Business Life podcast. This is your host and co-host, Michael. And
Diego. Yep.
there
How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Had a nice rest today. I love when I get my rest from the week. Um,
Like a recharge day.
oh, it's a great recharge day.
hmm
Yeah, um, I would recommend it. I would recommend it. If you can take one day off every week, or just one day just to yourself and just to relax and just to meditate. You rest your mind, body, and soul. So it works so nicely together. How's your day? Anything with the fam?
Yeah. Just spent the time with them. Just relaxed.
Relax.
We're all kind of getting over everybody being sick, so it took a lot out of us. So we're
Yeah.
almost there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So what we're getting into today, man, I think we're going to discuss about from the last episode we talked about credit scores and our credit history, right? And how to build them, even building them before you even turn 18. Um, one way that parents can assist their children in getting started in life is to put them on their credit card as was it a non-authorized user? Am I correct?
Yeah,
Or
authorized. Yeah, because they don't technically have credit till they're 18, but they're essentially having their name on the credit card.
yeah,
It shows, that they're responsible. That's the whole thing with credit. They want to see how you're responsible with financing.
right,
And yeah, it's starting young, and when you hit 18, you're already in a better spot than you would be when if you start from scratch, right?
right. And so from that we understand how important a report, especially your credit report could be. And so let's transition that to an ideal report or an ideal positioning into getting a home or to owning our first home, which will obviously be through mortgages. So what, and as a mortgage agent here, what is the best situation, maybe in terms of, um, or I guess what are they able to obtain with their finances or the income that they have? Um,
Yeah, so like just quickly for the credit, it's about like your credit history.
right,
They want to see a track record of how you do with credit cards and
right,
business loan or personal loans. Little things you start off with because obviously if you struggle with credit cards or you show a bad report off of like a credit card at a young age, then they kind of say, okay, how can we trust him or her with $600,000 mortgage, right? So a lot of times they stress about the the credit report because it's essentially your whole history of having finances from a bank or a lender or whoever, right? So they really care about the credit score a lot of times. um, there's ways like we talked about before about improving your credit to get to a good spot. A lot of times credit score 680 and above usually is good credit, right? So obviously the better, the less risk you are. Essentially, the lender takes into account how much of a risk you are if you get all this financing of you paying it off, paying it on time, paying it each payment monthly or weekly or whatever your payments are. Um, so yeah, that's super important with the credit report. Um, and yeah, 680 and above is the best credit you could get. Obviously, higher is way better. We were talking about income.
yes,
Obviously, with the stress test being involved now, especially with the rates being a little higher, uh, 2 years ago, people were getting approved with a stress test that was at like 4%. Stress
4%.
test now is 8%. So it's much, much higher. So, like, again, this is rough averages or rough numbers. For a $500,000 mortgage, income roughly needs to be 136 per year. And that's obviously under the stress test. So you kind of need the numbers to kind of be at a certain percentage because essentially what they do is they take into account your principal and your interest payment. They take into account your property tax as well as your heat, right? There's always like a minimum amount that they charge that they put into their ratios about heat.
Mm.
Anyway, they add all of that up together and then they divide it by the income that you make, right? And
Yeah.
then it comes out to a certain percentage. And a lot of times, A banks, 39% for GDS. That's what they call it, gross debt ratio.
Gross debt.
Um, yeah. So essentially, there they want to see, okay, how much can you like the percentage of your income paying off all of the bills that you have on this new property, right? And then there's another ratio where it's total debt ratio. So it's essentially the same thing, principal, interest, tax, heat, and then they also add your other debt. So your credit card debt. There's like a minimum percentage that they use,
Mhm.
uh, and car loan, uh, personal loan. They add all boat loan, anything like that that you have, they add to it, and then the ratio's 44%, right? So they take all the debt, they divide it by your income, and if it's below the 44%, it works. If it's above, then the number of the mortgage amount goes a little lower till it goes under that ratio, right? Um, anything so far about the ratios? Because I know the ratios. It's kind of like once you break it down, it's fairly simple. Like okay, obviously the amount of your expenses divided by your income. Um, Surprisingly, the one thing that really affects the ratios um, is your car loan, as well as like any child support or spousal support. That's actually a really big chunk because um, sometimes it's like $600-700, which
Mhm.
per month it's like a second car loan that you have. So like you really have to be careful on um, your personal finances as well. Like you don't want to be stuck in a position where you have extra monthly costs that are going to mess with your ratio. So at an early age, you have to start building your credit, like we talked about,
Mhm.
building your career, going up to above the six figures. If you're with a partner, combined obviously above six figures to get approved for over 500,000. And yeah, that's it's just yeah, it's super important to kind of lay the groundwork ahead because you have to plan for this stuff. Like you can't all of a sudden one day just all out of the blue, yeah, I'm going to start investing. Like unless you have a big chunk of money in your account, you have to plan for this stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, just a quick question about the 8%. So is that so? Can you explain that again? Is that 8% from your income to uh
8% for
the stress test,
yeah. So what they do is a lot of A lenders, sorry, all A lenders, they'll take the rate that they have. So let's say 6.04%.
right?
They add 2% to that for your approval. You have to be
Right.
approved at 8.04%, right? So you don't, a lot of times you don't um, qualify at the rate that you're going to get. They have the like a buffer, and it's always a 2% buffer. So now instead of being approved at 6.04, to get 6.04, you have to be approved for 8.04. So
Right.
that's what it is there. So if the rates go down to 2%, then your stress test is 4%, right? It all depends on what the rates are going on right now. So if the rates go up to 20, it's 22% you have to get approved for. That's
Oh,
what's stopping a lot of people, the stress test.
the stress test. Okay. And so, you mentioned child support, car loan, child support, and spousal support. Sorry, let me say that again. Car loan, child support, and spousal support affect the GDS, the gross debt ratio, the most.
No, that would be the TDS because that's total. So gross debt, it's principal of the mortgage, interest of the mortgage, property tax, and it's heat of your property.
So one
So
more time,
that's like
principal.
an estimated amount.
There's a principal. What else and what?
Principal,
Mhm.
interest,
Yeah,
property tax, and
yeah,
heat.
and heat. And what affects the so what did the car loan, child support, and spousal support affect?
So that affects the TDS. So
TD.
that's the other ratio. So GDS usually it's 39%. Uh, Anything below is good. If you're right on, you're okay. TDS, essentially it's principal, interest, taxes, heat, and then it's your other debt. So like we talked about,
Right.
that percentage is 44%.
Okay.
So a lot of times, a lot of deals kind of go sour because the other debt is what's affecting, right? So if let's say people that already have a property are looking to refinance,
Right.
a lot of times to refinance, they have to pay off the debt that they have already. So not only are they adding the mortgage amount that they're refinancing, they're pulling a little bit more equity into paying off their credit card debt or their personal loan or their line of credit, their car payments. So like they're taking that off of the plate to lower their ratios. So like when I'm calculating, a lot of times there's like an option where it says pay through proceeds. So essentially that gets eliminated from the ratios. But obviously at the end of the closing, the car loan has to be paid off or that credit card has to be paid off for it to work, right?
Right. I got you. Okay. Um, and so like just based on, seeing the child support and the spousal support, that's a very big thing. And what this means is that a lot of people at age 18 need to really have a purpose. And I'm saying this because like there's a famous quote that says, without a vision, the people perish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get into, I mean, like you said, child support and these other types of, issues because, they know what they were doing, just trying to pass the time, spending,
Maturity,
yeah,
not being prepared
exactly.
for life,
And
not
then,
expecting that there's going to be negative outcomes or financial outcomes. Obviously, having a baby costs a lot of money, right?
that, and then it ruins their chances, or not just ruins it, but it does hinder their chances a lot more to like obtaining a home or a property, right? And so
It's
you
all about planning, right? You got to plan when to have a baby.
yeah, exactly. And so hopefully with this information, people can start to say, let me really think further down the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're 18, listening to this podcast. Let me think 7 years down the line so I can prepare myself for that time so I can have a home for my child instead of, you know, not able to get a home because of your child. And so I
Yeah,
found that's very keen to me. So yeah, I
for
think it's
sure.
good stuff. Yeah, yeah, man. So
Another big thing, just quickly, the down payment. Usually, a lot of times, the stress test is a pain. The credit score can be difficult, but having a down payment on a property, including closing costs and lawyer fees and everything combined with that, you got to start really early to kind of start planning to put some money aside, even, you know, $20, $100, a paycheck, a week, a month, whatever you guys could afford, put that aside, essentially put it, excuse me, essentially put it in to an account that you don't touch, that you don't need, and you slowly watch that grow, and then when you find either a spouse or a partner to when you're ready to invest, you kind of have that little nest egg where a lot of people are obviously, some people are blessed to have financial assistance from their parents on their gifted down payments. um if you come to, for example, if you need a 20% down payment and you come into the fold with 15%, it's not as bad asking for a 5% gift from a family member or parent or whoever, but asking for 20% all together, hey, it's a big risk. Some people, some parents aren't in the position to financially assist that way. Sometimes it is what it is, right? But if you set yourself up and you're in the best position, so many things will open up for you, right? So it involves everything. When you're focusing on growing your business or your job, you're looking to kind of move forward and build your income that way and build your career that way, and building up from 50 to 70 to 100K income and so on. While you're doing that, you try to save a little, you try to build your credit, you try to essentially set yourself up so when you're able to afford something, you're able to go into it right away.
And henceforth, this is why we have life in our sports business life podcast. You need in sports, you need to have a game plan. In business, you need to have a game plan, and in life, you need to have a game plan. You need a plan.
Yep.
And so, hopefully, this podcast episode blesses those out there in needing or in wanting information about how to own. And we'll see you in the next video, next podcast episode. My name is Michael, and
This is Diego.
we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Peace.